On June 20, 1909, Errol Leslie Thompson Flynn was born in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia. Flynn was the son of Lily Mary Young and renowned marine biologist and professor Theodore Thompson Flynn. From a young age, he had a restless spirit and a thirst for experience that would define both his personal and professional lives, rather than any tendency toward discipline or traditional ways. Long before defiance was a part of Flynn's public image, he was expelled from multiple schools for misbehaving. Flynn's life already sounded like a screenplay before Hollywood found him. He worked as a boxer, miner, sailor, and plantation overseer in Papua New Guinea as a young man. His physical toughness and the raw appeal that eventually enthralled audiences were strengthened by these experiences. His first acting experience occurred in Australia, when he played Fletcher Christian in the low-budget 1933 movie In the Wake of the Bounty. Despite his gruff exterior, Flynn had an unmistakable natural on-screen presence that quickly caught Warner Brothers' notice and led to his arrival in Hollywood. Flynn's ascent to fame was swift. He made an appearance in the 1935 movie Captain Blood, which instantly made him a global celebrity. Flynn revolutionized the swashbuckler for a new age with his effortless swagger, contagious smile, and athletic elegance. Following this triumph, he landed a number of well-known parts, such as Dodge City, 1939, The Charge of the Light Brigade, 1936, The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, and The Seahawk, 1940. His reputation as the ultimate heroic explorer was solidified by these movies. His collaboration with actress Olivia de Havilland, characterized by warmth, humor, and a mutual respect that was eloquently shown on screen, became one of Hollywood's most cherished on-screen alliances. It was bold, romantic, noble, and irresistibly fascinating. Errol Flynn, however, was much more than a romantic lead with a sword. In movies like They Died with Their Boots in 1941, Gentleman Jim in 1942, and later The Sun Also Rises in 1957. He was a talented and occasionally underappreciated actor who yearned to be recognized seriously beyond his role as a matinee idol. Flynn displayed amazing range, depth, and sensitivity. Additionally, he shocked reviewers with his performance in That Forsyte Woman, 1949, demonstrating that, given the chance, he was capable of going beyond the action hero stereotype. Flynn lived as passionately off-screen as he did on film. His personal life was notoriously turbulent, characterized by numerous marriages, scandal, and an extravagant reputation. His work and health clearly suffered as a result of his excessive drinking, daring lifestyle, and disdain for moderation. His reputation was further muddied by legal issues and public scandals, which frequently overshadowed his creative accomplishments. Despite these difficulties, Flynn maintained his charm and charisma right up until the very end. He continued to work in the 1950s, frequently in small films and foreign productions. As Hollywood's heyday faded and his health declined, his later performances had an eerie sincerity that came from a sense of exhaustion and reflection. Flynn once said with trademark candor that he had lived life at full speed, heedless of the consequences, suggesting that he was aware that his mythology was inextricably linked to his defects. Flynn had 3 marriages during his life, each of which represented a distinct phase of his turbulent journey filled with romance, glitz, heartache, and lasting legacy. In 1935, at the height of his quick ascent to stardom, he married French actress Lily Damita for the first time. Flynn's demanding work and restless nature caused tension in their union, which was steeped in old-world elegance and Hollywood excess. Sean Flynn, the couple's 1941 son, would go on to lead an extraordinary and tragic life as a photojournalist during the Vietnam War. The press had been eagerly following Flynn and Dawes' relationship, but it ended in 1942 when they divorced despite their former love. Nora Eddington, a vibrant and intelligent actress, became Flynn's second wife in 1943 after just 1 year of marriage. Deirdre, born in 1945, and Rory, born in 1947, were their 2 daughters. For a while, Flynn seemed to be settling into his role as a father and juggling his continuing career in movies. However, an increasingly chaotic lifestyle, personal excesses, and the trappings of celebrity eventually took their toll. Another chapter in Flynn's complex personal history came to an end in 1949 when the marriage terminated in divorce. Actress Patrice Wymore was the companion Flynn chose for his third and last marriage in 1950. The couple had a daughter, Arnella Roma Flynn, born in 1953, and remained married until Flynn's tragic death in 1959. The friendship persisted into Flynn's last years, despite his deteriorating health and growing personal difficulties, providing a glimmer of stability in the midst of the chaos all around him. Flynn's influence extended beyond his own generation. He became the maternal grandfather of Sean Flynn, an actor who rose to popularity as the star of the hit television show Zoey 101 through his daughter, Rory. In this sense, Errol Flynn's impact extended well beyond his own film career and persisted via his offspring and grandkids, serving as a reminder that beneath the iconic portrayal of the sly Hollywood outlaw was a multifaceted family man whose tale continues to be relevant decades after his passing. Few celebrities more perfectly epitomized macho swagger in the shadowy hallways of Hollywood's golden age than Errol Flynn. Flynn was portrayed by studios as the quintessential ladies' man, swashbuckling, wild, and brazenly charismatic. Beneath that meticulously constructed fiction, however, was a much more complex emotional reality molded by survival, secrecy, and a studio system that required strict conformity. Flynn's alleged romantic relationship with fellow MGM star Robert Taylor is one of the most persistent rumors about his personal life. At the time, both men's careers would have ended if such a relationship had been recognized. During the 1930s and 1940s, studio surveillance, morality clauses, and an unwritten but harshly enforced code dominated Hollywood. Queerness must never be apparent. According to later observations, Flynn himself discussed the life he was expected to lead with weary cynicism. As he put it, they wanted a legend, one that never contradicted itself. They didn't want a guy. Similar pressures were used on Robert Taylor, who was cultivated by MGM as the epitome of sophisticated masculinity. To support his heterosexual image, the studio set up weddings, romances, and public appearances. Millions of dollars in box office income were at risk from any departure, even a rumor. The only way for 2 men to have emotional intimacy in that setting was to be silent. Flynn was completely aware of this deal. You discovered early on what could be expressed verbally and what could only be experienced, he thought. The facts didn't interest Hollywood. Consistency was of interest to it. Discretion was more than just preference if Flynn and Taylor had a private connection. It served as defense. Both men kept up well-publicized relationships with women, sometimes out of need rather than desire. These connections served as armor, protecting them from scrutiny and enabling them to function freely in public life. The cost of secrecy was high. Flynn recognized the price of the dual existence, even though he frequently used humor as a diversion from reflection. He acknowledged that concealment wasn't the most difficult part. It was acting as though being hidden had no effect on you. It is important for contemporary audiences to realize that this was not hypocrisy. It was a matter of survival. Silence was frequently the only choice in a time when contracts, professions, and even freedom could be lost in an instant. The studio system penalized honesty and encouraged conformity. Decades later, when societal perceptions started to change, Flynn had long since vanished, his reputation cemented in celluloid. However, there is space for nuance in the reassessment of Hollywood history. Finally, Flynn's legacy is not diminished by the notion that his life had emotional nuances beyond the official story. It makes it more profound. In a famously direct summary, Flynn himself said, "I lived the life they needed me to live. The others were mine." These days, the quiet truth is more powerful than the myths ever were. Errol Flynn's glittering existence, which had been characterized by daring on-screen exploits and a wild desire for pleasure off-screen, had shrunk to a somber face of debt, deteriorating health, and dwindling wealth by the fall of 1959. Flynn, who was once one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, was now having financial difficulties. So desperate that, in an attempt to negotiate the lease of his cherished yacht, Zaka, he flew to Vancouver, British Columbia on October 9. Long a representation of his amorous wanderlust, the ship was now more of a financial lifeline than a pleasure. George Kello, a businessman, was the man he hoped would save him. Additionally, 17-year-old actress Beverly Adland accompanied Flynn on the trip. Her presence would subsequently add a poignant dimension of controversy and tragedy to Flynn's dying days. What started off as a typical business vacation soon took a sinister turn. On October 14, Flynn abruptly started complaining of severe discomfort that was radiating down his legs and through his back as Caldo drove him and Adlin to the airport for their return flight to Los Angeles. Those who were with him were alarmed by how uncomfortable he was. Callo decided to take the automobile to Dr. Grant Gould's house after realizing that something was very wrong. Once renowned for his athletic ability to leap across sets, Flynn now visibly struggled to ascend the building's stairs, which was unnerving for a guy whose public persona had been based on physical bravado and vitality. After examining Flynn, Dr. Gould determined that the discomfort was probably caused by degenerative disc degeneration and spinal osteoarthritis, conditions that are consistent with Flynn's advanced age and difficult background. Gould gave a 50 mg intravenous injection of Demerol to alleviate the pain. Flynn relaxed and his voice became more vibrant as the drug started to work and the discomfort decreased. He started talking extensively about his background, his experiences, his victories, and his life lived to the fullest in a moving, almost cinematic moment. Those in attendance listened as the once famous celebrity traveled back in time, reliving the very incidents that had brought him notoriety and notoriety. Notably, Flynn turned down a drink offer, which was unusual for a man whose excesses were well known and now reads like a somber, silent footnote to his last hours. Dr. Gould then gave Flynn a leg massage in the apartment's bedroom and suggested that he lie down and recuperate before heading to the airport. According to reports, Flynn said he felt so much better, words that would eventually become tragically ironic. Beverly Adland went to see how he was doing around 20 minutes later. She discovered Flynn unconscious rather than sleeping. Panic ensued. Flynn was taken to Vancouver General Hospital by ambulance after Dr. Gould tried emergency medical care right away. Errol Flynn never regained consciousness, despite the medical staff's efforts and the promptness of the response. Later that night, at the age of 50, he was declared dead. A gloomy image of a body weakened by years of stress was presented by the official findings. A myocardial infarction, also referred to as a heart attack, caused by coronary thrombosis and coronary atherosclerosis, was cited as the cause of death in the coroner's report and death certificate. Partial cirrhosis and fatty liver degeneration were contributing factors. These disorders were severe enough to be officially documented. The fact that Flynn had previously received treatment for genital warts was also revealed in the wake of his passing, highlighting the degree to which his health had subtly declined behind the glitzy exterior. One of the most colorful and tumultuous careers in Hollywood came to a close with Errol Flynn's passing.